Welcome to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Geisel. This podcast is dedicated to helping you create a life that sets your soul on fire. I believe that is truly possible for everybody, but you have to be willing to do a few things. You have to be willing to let go of your past conditioning. You have to be willing to break free from societal norms. And you have to be willing to get really curious about your life and how you can start to look at it differently. Each week, we will hear stories from people who have done exactly this. People who chose to disrupt the life path they were on, go against the grain, and share the lessons and perspective shifts they had to make along the way. Every episode is committed to not only inspiring you and connecting you with other amazing humans, but actually giving you the tools you need to use this information in your own life so that you continue to evolve and reconnect with your highest self. Are you ready? Let's have some fun.
Fear of you actually creating your own program, the program you know you need to do for people. It's like there's a fear that people aren't going to listen. That's the inner critic that speaks to me, that lives on my shoulder and says, "Why are you doing this? Nobody's listening to you. Why are you putting that post out? Nobody's going to listen to it. Nobody hears you. Nobody's responding." And she's like, "Ask this very simple question. Ask this very simple question. Where do you think that began?" And as I sat there and just breathed and went, that memory came up. So you're right. It's not the moment. It's just a moment, but it's a moment that I can look at and say, yeah, that may have started something. And what it started was this idea that I'm going to get up with my voice, with my message, with my opportunity and my gifting, and I'm going to say something here, but they might not respond. They're not listening how I want them to listen. And that fear has held me back. You said it takes a different kind of confidence to show up and let your own thoughts be heard, to put your own thing out there instead of copy and pasting somebody else or mimicking someone else, which there is just a ton of right now. And it's highly encouraged on social media platforms. Do this trending dance, play this trending music. Well, so I'm going to do this thing that someone else is doing so that I can get seen. And I think what it's doing is actually perpetuating that idea that I need to be like this group in order to be noticed. But of course, that doesn't make any sense at all. The only way to be noticed is to be yourself. The only way to stand out is with your own unique lived experience, your own unique story, your own unique voice. So how do you find that? And you say it's like your internal awesome.
The other day, it was my day off and I got coffee and my body was like, go sit by the water. So I did. And then it was really great. Like there were really great things that came out of that. And even little things like that, like you should listen, but it's hard to learn that like you need to listen to your body. And it's hard to learn that when you have like not trusted those choices before because you've been made to feel crazy. You have those feelings for a reason. And even if it's just something small, like the other day when I took my coffee and sat by the water, like if your body gives you something little like that, just listen to it and like start like that. Like start small. It doesn't have to be you're gonna go move across the country.
Ashley goes full in when she does things. No, but yeah. I think another thing that I've always admired about you that I think you do so well, and like I've been able to just watch it, it's been so fun, is that like Ashley truly makes decisions for her. Like it's not that you don't care about other people, or you don't care what other people think, but you're not going to care enough about what somebody else wants for you to overpower what you know is the best thing for you.
Expect to have true purposeful change, whether that's, making a job change or a relationship change or a change in how you eat or a change in how you work out or any type of meaningful change in your life. There are some people that that's going to be difficult for them. There are people that I decide to no longer put my energy towards. I wish them the best and I love them from afar, but I ultimately love myself first, and my worth is there all the time first. And that's what enables me to love so deeply. But in that, I have to also be protective of that if somebody's energy or purpose is not pure and good for me or not aligned with what I want, that the best thing I can do for them and me is to not have that relationship anymore and be completely okay with that. I love and care for myself deeply and have value. It's very difficult for me to be destructive. It's very, very difficult for me to be destructive in my environment. It's very difficult for me to be, it would be completely like gut wrenching for me to hurt somebody intentionally. It would be so painful for me to destroy a whole ecosystem, to hurt a child. Right. So it's like, I feel like all of the world's problems would be figured out.
We just solved the world's problems. Right? You carrying things around for other people is harming you energetically, spiritually, physically. Like, we barely have enough capacity to carry our own stuff. And so we can't carry everybody else's too.
So don't abandon everything about your life. Use it as a building block to bring you back into that alignment as you define it, because it's going to change. I talked about it a lot with those close to me, almost looking for permission. And I was never going to get the permission that I felt that I needed. And so as a result of that, my journey of leaving, untangling this kind of like connection to this old version of success took me a lot longer because I was seeking outside permission. And the reality is, you're the only one that's going to look in the mirror at night. You're the only one that's going to sit with your thoughts alone. Create that peace inside of you by doing it justice, by just taking action. There's no timeline but your own. It's just a matter, are you more uncomfortable staying where you are? Or are you willing to be able to go and say, I'm not going to let my fear of the unknown get in the way of the mission that I meant to. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that that is the biggest, most important tool in your arsenal. Is you can learn all the skill sets, you can get all the experience, you can have all the credentials in the world. But if you're not taken care of at home, like Stacey said, inward, then that business isn't going to exude out of you in a way that feels genuine or meaningful or in alignment, or you might attract the wrong clients if you're coming from a place of, I've got this mask on.
Really did a lot of work on my mindset, because that's part of a weight loss journey or any kind of transformation you want to make. I mean, we both understand, like, there's a lot of mindset work that goes into it.
I just have to close my eyes and jump. Like, I don't have a choice, or I have to go back into that house and go back out and get my clothes without being heard. And I was like, no, just jump. And I jumped. COVID was actually a huge blessing for me because it made me slow down. It made me take the time to face everything that I should have faced for years. If something feels right and going for it, then go for it. What's the worst that can happen? And I'm very much like the pros and cons. Sometimes I weigh them out. Other times I just close my eyes and just go with it anyway. Stand in so much of your own power and just know that it's in my heart. And if it's not in my heart, it's there for a reason. It's not going to go away.
And when I would sit down and I was closing my eyes, I would just see this little tiny spark. I don't know what it was within me, but it was this little tiny flame. It was like in a lantern, And I was like, I just have to keep going. I don't know what you call that. Maybe it's resilience, maybe it's grit. I really don't know, but it was this little tiny flame, and it was like, you just gotta keep going. And so I kept trying. I wanted to do it. And I've always wanted to create a notebook and a journal, and I did it. And that's how everything changed, because I finally did something that I knew I've always wanted to do. And I did it instead of me just learning from other people about how to do something or how I can, or I wasn't focused anymore on the how. I knew how I could do anything. I knew all the hows. Now I had to figure out the what. Like, what about me? Why me? Like the what's and the whys of my part in my business, because it wasn't anybody else's decision. It wasn't anybody else's business. It was mine from the very beginning. And I had to figure out, and it took a lot of time and it took a lot of money, but I'm glad that I figured out it doesn't matter what they say. It matters what I want to do. And so that was the turning
because
point.
when I thought about it, I was like, I don't remember the last time I was happy. Like, I don't remember the last time I was like truly consistently experiencing joy. Like, there were moments, but they were fleeting. And then I was contemplating, and I just was like, God, like, I need some guidance here. And I heard, like, you have the tools, start utilizing them. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, I've been learning this since I was like 8. And so I treated healing like a second job. And looking back, like, my job was so boring. And I didn't like it at all, but it was so mindless that it created the space for me to be able to heal. Because I didn't have to, like, I wasn't drained afterwards. Like, I could just focus on my healing, especially when you look on social media and there's so many, like, quote unquote spiritual teachers and spiritual mentors. And it's very money focused even in that realm. And while money is great, and I'm not saying it's not, it allows you to have experiences and help people in a deeper way and stuff like that. It's not the end all be all. And I think spirituality is really taken a turn to focus on manifestation for materials and not what it's about. And I think that when you have a spiritual business, you have to have that realization. And if you want to have a successful and pure spiritual business, you have to have that realization and then also implement the necessary things that you need to implement to ensure that you're all about service and devotion. And then through that service and devotion, you are going to be
the person in the driver's seat. And you don't need to relinquish control of that, in my opinion, to like anybody else. I think it's amazing to like ask people for advice or to, see like bounce ideas off, brainstorm. But like at the end of the day, you are the person that is living your life. Like you don't need to outsource decisions or outsource, like, if you have something in your heart that's like really calling you and you feel like you need to do that, then do that. And sometimes that involves changing yourself the opportunity to change my mind and not being so worried about the outcome. I think that now has led me to an even better spot than I was before. So I think changing your mind, like at the end of the day, it's all about how you feel. Like, I think a lot of people probably have some fear about changing your mind and what will people think. And I think that's probably a big reason, at least for me, it's a big reason of why sometimes I don't share when I change my mind. Cause it's like, I don't want people to think that like I'm giving up or that like I'm wishy-washy, but like, fuck that. Like if you want to change your mind, it is your life. And here's your permission slip to do whatever feels good and aligned to you.
Because of my background, I was special operations. I protected the U.S. ambassador to Iraq for many years. And I spent about the first, 10 years of my young, like late teens, early 20s in the Middle East, in and out of the Middle East. So I had this huge chip on my shoulder that I was like a man's man and like I'd done all these hard things. So I was not this guy before, right? And not that I was scared of him, but it was just the fact that at that time, that was not what I thought a man was supposed to be. That I was able to actually learn so much more because I was open to it. And then that made me understand a lot more. It boosted my intellect, my vocabulary. It boosted my emotional intelligence. It boosted everything that I had because I started being willing to learn and open to those types of that they're an alpha male and try to establish that in that external way that you're talking about. A lot of that is just protection for their insecurities. And that's their ego saying, you have to do this because if not, people are going to see through you and think that you're weak because he's not actually secure with who he is. Creating that individuality and holding that first and foremost, people might tell you it's selfish. Cool, that's fine. Selfish isn't bad. Selfish is actually really good because I can't give back to my wife if I don't fill my cup up 100%. If I'm that half a person that I tell everybody this is my better half, if I'm only half a person all the time, guess what? I'm giving my wife half of a good worthiness is where a lot of people, they don't feel worthy to experience a successful life on their own because they're not taught that, and they're not taught that there's no limitations for any of us. Our only limitations are the ones
and
that
what I've realized is that life is got chapters and they can look wildly different than each chapter. Like each chapter can be so different from the other, and that is perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that you've failed. It doesn't mean that you've gone off course. It doesn't mean that these chapters weren't meant to sit next to each other. It just it's kind of makes a more beautiful book, I think, if they are wildly different.
And saying, wow, this is my life.
Mhm.
And I think like that hit me. And obviously it has stuck with me since we had that conversation, because I remember when we were traveling, like feeling that way and feeling different things. And the reality is that who gives a rat's ass whether it looks messy? That's not even a word. Messy from the outside, because the reality is there's not very many people that can look at their life and say, wow, this is my life. And that is how they feel all day, every day. So girl, if you are living that, like, hallelujah. Nobody should be questioning your decisions, not you either.
Yeah. Well, that's true, I guess. I mean, I guess I don't feel euphoric all day, but I think what I was sharing with you too is that is a new thing that happened when we left on this kind of adventure, changed our life, is that there are definitely moments like very frequently, honestly, where I will look at Ryan and be like, this is Monday night. Like, this is Monday night, Ryan. And we are on our mountain bikes looking over a beautiful vista of mountains. And it took us 5 minutes to get here. And we closed our computers at 5. Like, this is Monday. And like, you kind of look back at like what your Monday used to look like, or
literally require me going to that same place every single day. And I've only been there for a year and I can't stand it. So that in my head, I think it just scared me shitless, honestly. I was like, is this what I really want for my journey of self-development or personal development, self-discovery, whatever you want to call it? Not everybody needs to do that. Some people can do that really, on like takes care of myself a lot. Like I'm very empathetic. So like I feel like in growing up, I was always like wanting to take care of my brothers or my friends or make sure my mom and dad were good. Or just, I never really was like thinking about like, how do I actually feel? But what I realized is that like, it's so important for me to like really focus on me and what makes me happy instead of worrying about everybody else all the time. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm never going to be able to give not only my friends and my family everything, but my businesses and therefore my future. There's also been way more good days and now it's led to this. So yeah, I mean, probably not. I think I'd just keep it the way it is.
Yeah. And it's amazing because
as long as I am making the steps forward that I can control right now, it will happen. And it will happen I'm sure, like, I don't move slow in anything I do. I move very quickly. So I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than I think it's even going to, but I just need to just go with the flow sometimes. I have to remind myself of that every day. Making small steps, I promise you, it will add up. And it might seem like it's like pulling teeth at the beginning, but it really is adding up to big things.
And then now we're sitting here in a very different situation. And because we were willing to let go of those things.
That's incredible. There's so much there that's incredible. I mean, you've got, where to even start? But number one, you guys are really clear on your values. Like what's important to you? Like what is truly important to you? I believe in values-based spending, right? And you guys looked at where are we spending? Does it align with our values? Does it bring us joy? If it doesn't, we can go without for a little bit. You can get another boat. Like you can get another, you had said this before, like if you hate not having a car payment, just go to the local dealer and in an hour you can be back in a car payment. Like it's not that big of a deal. If you hate it, just go back into it. And it's one of two responses. It gets super awkward, or the other response is, that is so cool. Like what an amazing opportunity to be with your son like that. And it took me a long time to get used to that because my ego was tied up in my profession. And it was hard at first, but eventually I got to a point where I was like, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I love it. It's great. I have an amazing relationship with my son. And I don't care what people think about that because what my wife and I are doing in our family is because so many people, male especially, they might be crushing it at work, but they suck at home. They're a bad husband. They're a bad father. They're not present. They don't go to, they don't have a relationship with their kids. Maybe they're on their 4th marriage, but they're successful at work. And to me, it's like, I'm not going to make that trade-off in my life. I don't think you should trade off your personal balance sheet for your professional one. I don't think being successful at work while failing at home is a good thing. We shouldn't strive.
We live our life trying to make everybody else happy. And it's just ass backwards in so many ways.
100%. And if you ask anyone at the end of their life, at the end of the dock, when they're sitting there, regret is one of the biggest things that comes up. So if we know that, if we know what the end kind of looks like, stop playing the game. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So just stop playing the game, start your own game, play your own game.
Feed your soul is what in your life is giving you beauty. And so from that point on, I really began to pay more attention to that. So is it the sunset? Is it having roses on your table all the time? Is it gifting yourself something? Really paying attention to the present moment. So they refine teachings like that of what feeds you, but what feeds your soul, because you can eat to simplify it, you can eat all the organic food in the world, but if your home environment is a bit toxic or not loving, and you live in a place that you really don't love, your soul is going to be depleted. You really sit all by yourself and you take all those components that are the distractions out of your life. How happy and full do you feel? And that's just simply a choice. And it has nothing to do with age, nothing. And I think that's another compromise that I think a lot of women make, that they just think it's too late to make a change, or I'm just going to stay with the status quo. And every single moment, every breath of our life is precious.
Are to love the situation that you're in and find the perfection in it. Whether it's a massive success or a massive, what people might deem a failure. And I have applied that to things in my business. I've applied that to my relationship with my dad. I've applied that to being dumped after being in like a 2.5-year relationship that was internationally long distance for 2 years of it. I have learned to love the situation that I'm in, find the perfection in it, and see the opportunity in it. That's thing number one. The second thing that I have struggled with, I think probably most of my life, is making myself as important. Because what a lot of us do is, like you said, dim your light or hit that dimmer switch or whatever, because we're making the comfort, the worldview, the situation that the people we're talking to or interacting with more important than what our needs are, or our, not necessarily comfort, but what we're trying to do, and how we're trying to show up. And we've ended up dimming that, which just keeps you stuck in this like low ass vibration where you're hanging out in resentment and you're hanging out in like fuck you land to everyone. And it's just not fun for anybody. And those two things have been absolutely life-changing.
Give myself permission that I can change things and I can cancel things and I can move things around. And just because it's on my calendar doesn't mean I'm obligated or I have to, or that I can't make an adjustment down the road. And so I feel like giving that permission to others is so important, because half the time we don't even realize we're following someone else's rules, or we don't realize why we're miserable, unhappy, beating ourselves up. And it usually is because you're not staying true to yourself and you're not giving yourself time to even figure out what that looks like. And who says you had to be working by a certain time? And like, why can't I start when I feel like it at 10 o'clock, right? Like we're all different and unique. And like, why can't we make up what feels good to us? I would say learning how to be more in the feminine, learn how to truly listen and honor myself and slow down enough to even go within and like, what do I even want? And what do I even want it to look like? And how do I even figure that out? I was so caught up in like, go 24/7. Let's just, even when we first met, like even virtually, I had like 500 commitments and I didn't understand why I was booked like 3 weeks out. And if someone asked to move something, I was like, no, because I have stuff going all day, like back to back. Like I even saying it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do that for so long? Like I couldn't even breathe. I couldn't even.
You already have it within yourself, everything you need. And so as I would counsel with people or talk to people and they'd say, oh, but I don't have any patience. And I would say, yes, you do. You have patience. It's not that you need more patience. You need to learn how to draw out from yourself the patience that you already have. One of the reasons that we're so hard on ourselves is that we think we understand ourselves. We know we don't understand other people. We know that there's always that possibility that maybe the guy that's being a jackass on the freeway is trying to get to the hospital to see his dead, his dying mother or something. So we can make excuses for other, but we know our own story, right? Or at least we think we do. And we lose sight of the fact that we are as difficult to grasp as that person who's outside of us is. And that the reality we think we know about ourselves is hardly ever true. It's the mind voice, the ego story that we've told ourselves. But a relationship is a constant negotiation between two people of what's acceptable. That's the basis. That's the fundamental story of what a relationship is. It's a dance. These are my boundaries, and the level of intimacy that we experience in our relationship is 100% going to be based on how much we respect each other's boundaries. I walked into the bedroom where she was with the girls, and I collapsed onto the floor on my knees, and I put my arms around my wife and my 2 daughters, and I just wept uncontrollably. And that's exactly the way I have believed God my whole life, is that if you have enough faith, you can say to the mountain, be removed, and it'll be cast into the sea. Now my faith has shifted over the last, however long. To now I understand when Jesus said, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be removed and cast into the sea. He didn't mean that God was somehow mysteriously going to come down this invisible force and rip this mountain up and throw it into the ocean. What that means is that if you have the faith as a grain of mustard seed, the tiniest amount of faith, you can pick up a damn shovel and go start digging.
You feel like comes as second nature, someone else really is looking for help and guidance with. And I think that can be like a guiding light for so many of us that aren't really sure like what our purpose is. And that can kind of help get us going in the right direction. Like I still have like my battles, and all of us do. And it's just important to have an awareness and make the choice to fight through those, because what's on the other side is more important and more powerful than sitting in the past, really.
Yeah, could not agree with you more. And I think that, so for anybody who's listening and they are like really resonating with this, because I mean, we're real on this podcast. I go through that probably multiple times a day. Like I will never forget, there was a time in my on this journey where like before I did probably multiple times a day. Like I will never forget, there was a time in my on this journey where like before I did anything, I had to remind myself, like, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. You don't have to be like, because, and like, I still do that sometimes. I'm like, because my tendency is to go back to trying to prove things to people. Right. So, how do you now, like, cause this is something that I think so many women struggle with, is they may know that they are holding themselves back, and they sit there and they're like, I know that I should move forward, even though I'm not feeling super confident. What do they do? How do you get through that?
Oh my gosh. Actually, I'm going to share with you something that a guest of mine on my podcast just said the other day, Heather McConaughey. And she was talking about how confidence is competence. And that's exactly where confidence comes from. And it had me even thinking about confidence a little bit differently, about how if you don't feel confident in a certain area of your life, get more competent, gain more knowledge, figure out what is step one to get you going in the right direction. And I think that that's an important thing to be aware. We have to take responsibility for where we're at, right? I mean, and that's a huge part of it is in my past, I'm just going to speak from experience. I have sat in low confidence, kind of like a poor me, oh man, I just don't feel good about myself. Wah, wah, wah. But in reality, as soon as I took that responsibility of yo, I don't have to feel that way. And the only person that's going to get me out of this is me. It's not my spouse. It's not, whoever else we throw these responsibilities onto. It's if I don't feel confident, it's about making a choice and taking action. And that action requires becoming more competent in whatever area of our life we're not feeling confident in.
But the reality is the only person's love that you really need is yours. And you have the only way you're going to get that is by putting yourself first. And
I get that. Yeah. And a lot of type A, high achiever women who love CrossFit and have these really successful careers, they're in the same way. They want to disassociate with that weak, vulnerable part of themselves. That's where all their power is at.
Oh, and you couldn't be more spot on. We use that as a defense mechanism.
And there are many others, but I think it is that you need to get on that plane and go to that place you've never been and come back and share these stories. And there's something in that process. And that's maybe I'll just write a book about traveling because that's where a picture, print it out, some of us, and then you frame it and you hang it up. And then you're surrounded by this, whatever this vision is that you're seeing, right? It's we all get something different from the picture. So that carries with you. When you look at that, you're you get an imprint of what that means to you. And I think that's so powerful.